a lot of these guys are just complaining. They're complaining. They say the WWE product is essential, but then we're releasing all these guys, and they're the same people that are complaining. AJ Styles has a problem with WWE fans complaining about the product being essential, but then complaining when they also are releasing wrestlers. He's absolutely right, but let me tell you why there's a little bit more to that story than meets the eye. Jinder Mahal, a nightmare waiting. I don't care what he does when he comes back from his injury. Stay away from Drew McIntyre and stay away from the main event scene. WWE Money in the Bank is going to be taking place from the WWE headquarters. How that changes the Money in the Bank ladder matches and how Vince McMahon views NXT, I don't need to give you an article for that because we know that he doesn't think very highly of NXT because 85% of the call-ups don't have anything of relevance on the main roster. Stay right here. You're going to want to hear this. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome right back to the YouTube channel here. I do want to apologize to all these sports fans out there. There's not too much to talk about. I am going to be covering the NFL draft, preview, predictions, all of that, and obviously the review of it afterwards, at least the first round review, because I think anything after the first round is just going to be a tedious, giant cluster crap to go over. I have my laptop here, obviously, with different articles. I know, again, some of you want to hear a lot of other things. You want to hear about baseball, football, but again, those sports worlds really don't exist right now. The only thing for sports really is the NFL draft. And again, like I said, I'm going to be covering that as well. But the wrestling world is very hot right now. So for those of you that are wrestling fans, this is definitely going to be your tea, especially of the week. We have, all these wrestlers getting released. We have the show still going on. We have pay-per-views getting altered. All of these things going on in and around the wrestling community. So that's really the news and the tea, and that's really what's popular. And it has been for the last 2 weeks. Again, there hasn't been so much sports going on. But we got some different things to talk about here today. The first one from Wrestling News Co., and this was AJ Styles. I believe he has his own podcast, which he actually did this on. And he is ripping the fans that are saying the product shouldn't be essential, but also the same fans that are getting mad at WWE for releasing their talent. And here's one of the things about that. I'm going to justify my claim because I think a lot of people got it confused and a lot of people got it mixed. I was never ripping WWE for being essential. I was ripping them going out WrestleMania because I wanted the best for everybody and I wanted everybody to enjoy WrestleMania as what it should be. I don't ever think that it should just be a show, and I think that they were going into it thinking, well, they had the right mind state from, well, we want to give them something to watch, but it wasn't WrestleMania, and nothing about it felt like WrestleMania whatsoever. And I think that's where the problem lies, is that they were just kind of, to me, it felt like a show that they just wanted to get over with. And that is what I didn't really like from that. I didn't have a problem with their weekly television. I thought that they needed to be very, very smart with it. Again, with all this going on, I just think that they needed to be very smart with going on with their weekly television. And the weekly television really hasn't been good. And again, it hasn't been good long before the coronavirus. Let me move this here because I don't feel like this is at the best angle. It hasn't been good long before that. So this is nothing new. Let's not get that twisted. But they chose to go on with their shows. AEW did the same exact thing. So if we're going to criticize WWE for going on with their shows, we're going to do the same thing. But the difference is that even though the AEW, Tony Khan has a lot more money than Vince McMahon, they're both very rich. But right now, WWE is the one that is releasing all their talent. AEW is not. Again, I'm sure the AEW contracts for the guys that aren't the top guys are nowhere probably near what WWE is getting paid. But again, they like to hoard talent. I don't have the clip on here. Again, I'm not going to get audio copyrighted. But basically what happened was, I'm going to read this off here. Styles had an issue with the fans who had complained about WWE being essential, but also had an issue because those were the same exact people complaining that they had released a bunch of wrestlers. He quoted here, he said, "With the talk of WWE being essential television, I don't know whether it is or it isn't, but I know that I'm glad to be able to entertain. I'm glad to be able to do my job. I still want to be able to do that. I don't understand people who complain about it and then go and bury the company for releasing people. You can't have both. We've got to be able to work, and if you don't work, your business can't make money, so you've got to be able to do that. I want to be able to work, and I know that there's risks involved, and I got to do whatever I can to make sure I hopefully don't contract the virus. I don't know. It's hard to say, but there's so many things going on and so many different things out there on what the virus is. You don't know what to believe anymore. You don't know who to trust. It's just so bizarre right now." Okay? from a general standpoint, Mr. AJ Styles is 100% correct. You can't bury the company for going on with their show and then also bury them for releasing talent. Because if they don't go on with their show, their company's not making money. And again, they're not making money from ticket sales. And again, that's probably a large part of their revenue. They're not making that type of money anymore. But you can't complain about them releasing talent because, again, they have to pay these guys. You can't complain about both. For me, and again, we don't know exactly how much money they intake. Again, I don't know any of that. But for me, my problem is not with them going on with the shows. It's the problem of this could have been prevented had Vince McMahon used a little bit more of thought into it, and had they not brought back people that are not relevant to their television and do nothing for them. Again, you could say, oh, they should have did this, should have did that, should have did this. But even if none of this happened, I don't think that a lot of what happens makes sense, because Goldberg is given this amount of money. Brock Lesnar, and again, Brock Lesnar's a draw. We know his talent. We know what he's able to do. But you're giving all of these guys, and I think Goldberg is the one that we all pinpoint to the most because it's the one that makes the least amount of sense. You're giving somebody like Goldberg all of this money. Goldberg is well past his prime. Well past his prime. Not only are you giving him all this money, you're giving him all this money to come back, win a championship that he doesn't need, and bury a talent that should not be buried. That's the problem. And not only is that the problem, they give him an astronomical amount of money to do so. That is another problem. What that says is, one, you don't care about your younger talent because you're burying them with someone that should not even be even on a wrestling screen to begin with. You're giving him an astronomical amount of money to do that. And the amount of money that you paid this man, you could have legitimately probably saved about 3 or 4 of these guys that were cut. That is the problem. And there are a couple of guys that I understand. I understand Brock Lesnar. I understand that situation. I don't think he should be champion, but Brock Lesnar can still go in a wrestling ring. Goldberg provides me with nothing. They give him a shit ton of money because they want to try to draw ratings. Goldberg doesn't draw ratings. I don't know who gave you that lie. He's not fun to watch. He's not interesting. There is nothing about Goldberg in the year 2020 that is going to make any fan that's been watching this product long enough gravitate towards the television. So that is part of the problem. His greed and just throwing wrestlers all this amount of money just because he doesn't want them to go to another promotion, which is available to do now. AEW is very real. And now it's biting him in the ass. Now, again, I do have sympathy for him. I do not want to see anybody's company go to shit, especially WWE, because this was my childhood. So, again, a lot of what I do on here is WWE related. But that's part of the problem, okay? You're giving these guys, Goldberg one of them, an astronomical amount of money when he doesn't even need to be there to begin with. You could have saved, they say that they're saving $4 million from these cuts, okay? He could have saved probably 7 or 8 million had he just cut Goldberg. Goldberg is not even, and again, I'm not taking anything away from the talent and the things he's accomplished, but in 2020, I don't know what part about him is worth $4 million. Maybe there's something that that was completely out of the mix here. But for anybody with a common brain, you will sit here and you will say, wow, that is actually right. That does not make much sense. Reports. Jinder Mahal, for those of you that don't know, had his last appearance in a last wrestling match on June 15, 2019, when he wrestled Mustafa Ali at a live event and ruptured his patella tendon. He was out for quite a while, and a lot of times what happens is WWE doesn't make mention of when wrestlers get hurt, or they just disappear. And that's one of the things that kind of just bothers me a little bit. Again, some of it is stuff you have to research. And again, the problem is that Jinder Mahal got hurt, and 3-4 months went by, and I didn't even say anything, and it just goes to show you how much I value Jinder Mahal on professional wrestling television, is that it took me 3 to 4 months to realize that the guy was actually gone. Anyway, Jinder Mahal last wrestles his match on that date, and he's been injured ever since. But there's been multiple situations, according to Fightful.com, that Jinder Mahal should have and could have and would have come back. However, Jinder Mahal did not come back, and he has not yet. But Jinder Mahal is 100% clear to come back to the wrestling world and wrestling ring, and that's good for him. I'd like to see people overcome injury. I don't want to see anybody not have a job. I want to see people overcome injury, but I don't want to see Jinder Mahal in the main event, and that speaks for a vast majority of people, okay? Because I guarantee you what's going to happen is when Jinder Mahal comes back, Vince McMahon's going to say, oh, they got this storyline with Drew McIntyre being in 3MB. They got all this story here. I love this story. And they're just going to throw it right in there. And being Vince McMahon, I would not be shocked to see him give the title to Jinder. Does not need to happen, okay? There's a story there, but that's it. Jinder Mahal against Drew McIntyre is not believable in any realm of the earth. Drew McIntyre is on another atmosphere that Jinder Mahal is not even on the level below him, okay? Do not put Jinder Mahal in a main event scene whatsoever. I don't know what the Universal Championship main event scene will look like. The Universal Championship belt is a candy belt anyway, honestly. It will always be the second-hand belt. The Universal Championship belt has been a complete joke since the night after Balor won it at SummerSlam and dropped it, okay? Now you had Rollins hold it for a little, Owens hold it for a little. Other than that, hasn't been relevant. Has not been relevant whatsoever. It has been a candy belt that has been held by Lesnar for so many times. Guy's not even on TV. You got to give him respect more because in his recent tenure in WWE, he's been on TV a lot more. But, again, is what it is. Reportedly, Mahal was supposed to be back in November. They didn't have him come back. And then they expected a Royal Rumble return in January, but still had not returned as of this writing. I guess what they're trying to do is just find the best storyline and way to bring him back. I do 100% believe that Jinder Mahal will be back by SummerSlam. Now, again, a lot of it depends on what is going to happen with what is going to happen with the virus. I don't really know if bringing him in right now. I don't know how he feels about coming in. Again, I think WWE is especially one of those companies where they want their guy to come back and get some kind of reaction. You saw AEW do it with Luke Harper, Brody Lee and Matt Hardy, and it was great. But had that happened in front of a crowd, I thought it would have been a really, really solid thing to happen. But I think Jinder Mahal is a ticking time bomb, and I think that he will come back. But what I'm nervous about is him coming back and being in the main event scene, because I do not want to see that. I do not want to see Jinder Mahal in the main event scene, and I have a nightmarish. There's a nightmare and a part inside of me that worries that we could see Jinder Mahal fight Drew McIntyre at SummerSlam and win the title. I really do. I really do have that. I wouldn't put it past WWE to do something like that, so that makes me very, very nervous. But best of luck to Jinder Mahal. Hopefully he comes back happy and healthy, but I do not want to see him in the main event scene, and I think I speak for everybody. There was reportedly an article on here about how Vince McMahon views NXT, but I didn't even go to read it because I don't need to read it. Some of this I don't need to read. Some of this you can see and you watch it weekly and you know how it feels. So I can't really talk about the article, but I can tell you that Vince McMahon does not view NXT very highly. He may view the product highly, but everything that product has going for him is the complete opposite of everything we see on the main roster television. Every storyline, every character you're invested in, every wrestling match, everything that NXT stands for is the complete jackass opposite of the main roster. And that does not take a genius to tell you that. You know that already, okay? That's the problem. That's the problem. 85%, I'd say about probably 80% of the NXT call-ups after 3 months either are in a bogus storyline, they're not wrestling, and they have no value, or they're not even on TV. Not 90%, I'm bouncing all over the place here. 80% of the NXT call-ups that are called up have no value to the main roster. There are very few that make it through. Even Kevin Owens had his phases. Kevin Owens will be an exception. Nakamura was ruined, no value. The Ascension was probably the most buried tag team that was so over in NXT, ruined. So many of them just completely ruined. Sasha Banks had her moments on the main roster, but she has not even touched anywhere near the level she was on NXT, and it has nothing to do with talent. That's what I hate. A lot of these people will say things about this wrestler's not good. Educate yourself, watch some film, go watch NXT, okay? Vince McMahon does not think very highly of NXT, and he doesn't give a shit about NXT, okay? That is one of the things that if you take anything out of this video, that's one thing you take out of it, because he does not give a shit, all right? And it shows every single week, and it has for many, many years. Very few superstars outside of favorites and people that Vince McMahon think very highly of, make it through NXT and have any type of success that they did on the main roster. The last report I got here is going to be an interesting one. Yesterday, it was announced on SmackDown that Money in the Bank will be taking place from WWE headquarters in Stamford, Connecticut. If you've ever had the chance to see WWE headquarters, I've actually seen it. Very nice building, very nice. It's in a weird neighborhood, but it's in a very nice establishment. WWE has announced, now this, again, SmackDown was reportedly live yesterday, right? But they've announced that Money in the Bank is going to be exclusively taking place from WWE headquarters. And the Money in the Bank ladder matches are going to be climb the corporate ladder. So what exactly does that mean? If you really read into that, climb the corporate ladder, it's kind of funny because a lot of what happens in wrestling nowadays kind of relates to that corporate ladder. But the idea here is, from what I'm told, is that the wrestlers are going to start at the bottom floor of the headquarters. And from what I'm told, this show has been already completely filmed, which kind of sucks because I kind of want to see it live. But I feel like something like this has to be filmed because there's so many ways it could go wrong. It's going to be filmed from the bottom floor, and the superstar is going to have to make their way all the way to the top of the roof of the headquarters. The briefcases are going to be held on the roof of the headquarters for both Money in the Bank ladder matches. So I don't know exactly. A lot of us have never even been in the headquarters. I don't think you're allowed in the headquarters. I don't think they do tours either. I don't know if people from Connecticut would be able to explain on that, but I'm pretty sure they don't do tours and shit. But the idea for the wrestler to win this match is that they're going to have to go from the bottom floor all the way to the roof. Now, I would assume that they're from what I've seen, maybe there's 10 or 12 floors. I don't know exactly, maybe even less than that. But I can't imagine there being that many floors on the headquarters. It looks pretty tall when you're there outside of it. I would say there's probably about 10 to 12 floors. I don't know if it's going to feature a superstar climbing up a ladder through a panel to get to the next floor. It's not going to be an elevator thing. It's probably going to be stairs. I'm very interested to see how this is going to play out. And again, the best way that WWE can make this a successful event, they have to be creative. You know, WrestleMania, I feel like certain aspects of it, they did a very good job of being creative, but there was a lot of things that I feel like they didn't get right. When we talk about, you know, this cinematic experience and the things that they did get right, one of the things that immediately will come to my mind is the Boneyard match. These Money in the Bank ladder matches need to be filmed in a Boneyard match-like fashion. I think that they need to be filmed kind of just... for me, it needs to be like the Boneyard match. It needs to be like, you know, the Firefly Funhouse. You know, it can't be, it has to be filmed like that. If anything, this needs to bring their creativity out. It's their headquarters. You know, they have no restrictions. I don't know if that means that every show after Money in the Bank is going to be filmed at their headquarters. I don't know exactly how they're going to do that. I'm sure that they obviously will figure something out. But I'm very interested to see how this will play out, because we've never seen this before. The Boneyard match was excellent. The Firefly Funhouse was not really a match at WrestleMania, but the whole, whoever wrote that deserves a golden star. So I'm very interested to see how that's going to play out from that standpoint. But I do think that, you know, they have to be creative. And if they don't, they have to do something like the Boneyard match. They have to be creative with it. And I think that if they do that, this will be successful. I think that they, with this whole situation, they need to really dig into their creativity and just really kind of just, you know, just explore that. You know, you have all these people, you know, have all these ideas all this time. It's already been done. So whatever happened already. So for me, it kind of doesn't make sense to say, well, this is what they need to do. But they've done it already. And again, WrestleMania was filmed 2 weeks before it aired. So they were already done with it. But I think that the Money in the Bank ladder matches, if you're going to watch anything on the show, it's definitely going to be interesting to see. As far as these singles matches, I don't know if those are at the headquarters also. From what I know, the whole show is going to be at the headquarters. So that's pretty interesting. That's the news I got for you today, guys. Pretty much just wanted to tally on some of the things. We're going to be talking about the NFL draft and different things next week. But I do always appreciate everybody for watching. Hit the subscribe button. Tell your people, because nobody does it better.